You just knew 2007 was going to be an unforgettable year when it began with Boise State upsetting Oklahoma in the Fiesta Bowl. This game was iconic. You'll never forget where you were when it happens, but most of all, this game changed college football forever. And I'm going to explain how in this video. If you're new here, please subscribe to the Era Network. We cover college football, the NFL, and college basketball from a business standpoint. This community is growing by the day. We're building this thing brick by brick. And so hit that subscribe button, because I'd really love you to be a part of it. I really appreciate it. So yes, this game had implications on the landscape of college football that stretch all the way out to this present day. But before I get into that, let's just discuss this game itself and what led up to it. So Boise State had an incredible season in 2006. They went undefeated in the WAC. They dominated most of their schedule, including a massive win over Oregon State. They had a couple close games. Hawaii was a squeaker. Wyoming was a squeaker. San Jose State was closer than the Broncos would have wanted to be. But nonetheless, Boise State found a way to win all of those games and enter the Fiesta Bowl unscathed. Oklahoma, on the other hand, it was an up and down year for the Sooners, filled with ups and downs, peaks and valleys. Oklahoma went 11-2 in 2006. They had a controversial loss up in Eugene, Oregon, to the Ducks by 1 point. There was some bad officiating involved in that. I may make a video about that at some point. They also lost the Red River rivalry to Texas. That game wasn't as close, but the most important storyline of Oklahoma's 2006 season was that they lost Adrian Peterson for 7 weeks. He was able to come back for the Fiesta Bowl, but he broke his collarbone against Iowa State, and he wasn't able to return until that Fiesta Bowl. So it was a huge downer for the Sooners to not have Adrian Peterson readily available. But nonetheless, despite those 2 losses, Oklahoma still only had 1 conference loss, and they're able to make it into the Big 12 championship against Nebraska, their longtime rival, and they were able to pull that off, which secured them a berth in this Fiesta Bowl. And so there it stood. Goliath, the Oklahoma Sooners, against David, the Boise State Broncos. Boise State entered this game as 7.5 points underdogs. People expected Oklahoma just to roll in this game because you usually saw that when you had a G5 team go up against a Power 5 team at the time in college football. That's usually just what happens. So people were assuming that was going to be just another one of those high-flying whack teams that went into this game and got waxed by Oklahoma. But that was not the case. Boise State started strong. Oklahoma started a little tight. Boise State was up 21-10 at halftime. The world was stunned. I mean, if you were an Oklahoma fan in that building in Glendale, it was tense. But halftime changed some things. Oklahoma made some adjustments. They scored 25 consecutive points in the second half of this game to actually take the lead with 1 minute and 2 seconds remaining in this game. But Boise State pulls off the heroics. They run the Statue of Liberty. They have that game-winning touchdown to win this thing, 43-42. It was simply unforgettable. And in that moment, you could just feel how seismic this win was, and that it was going to change the way people saw college football and the nature of college football forever. So there's pros and cons to the impact that this game had on college football. A pro, when it comes to Boise State's impact, was that their Fiesta Bowl victory over Oklahoma, a high-powered perennial program, it paved the way for other G5 teams. to have an opportunity to compete in BCS bowls, future college football New Year's Six bowls, and even college football playoff games. You look at the Cincinnati Bearcats. You look at Boise State's in 2024. You look at James Madison and Tulane in 2025. Boise State paved the way for that to happen. Boise State walked so that Cincinnati could run, if you will. So it gave those schools an opportunity that they never had before. And it enabled them to grow as programs, to have a chance to compete for a championship that they never had before. That's massive, and they deserve that. They should have that opportunity. And so it's great that Boise State was able to be a pioneer in the Group of Five movement. However, the con to this, and there is a con, and we saw it this year, is that Boise State's victory led to this massive misnomer, if you will, when it comes to G5 teams. There's this perception that because Boise State did what they did in 07 to Oklahoma, any G5 team can just go out and do that to any perennial powerhouse, any Power 4 school. But it's simply not the case. Number one, Oklahoma was a vulnerable team all year long. Like I said, they had a very up and down season in 2006. They just got Adrian Peterson back for the Fiesta Bowl. So it was the situation for this game. You could kind of see it coming from a mile away, and then you had a Boise State team that was more talented than people gave them credit for, was better coached than people gave them credit for, and was very much overlooked. And you could see that by how Oklahoma approached them in the first half and how the media approached Boise State going into this game. It was a trap in all facets for Oklahoma. So people look at this situation and they apply it to any Power 4 versus G5 game you could possibly get in the college football playoff. And that's dangerous because not every Power 4 team is Oklahoma that year, and not every G5 team is Boise State from 2006. I mean, just to illustrate what Boise State was, I want to mention a few things here. Boise State was truly a unicorn in the 2000s and 2010s, and not every G5 team is this. Boise State went 12-1 in 2002, 13-1 in 2003, 11-1 in 2004, and they went 50-3 from the span of 2008 to 2011, including massive wins over Georgia, Oregon, and Frank Beamer's Virginia Tech Hokies. There's never been another G5 team like Boise State. I know people want to see your James Madisons be like that. I know people want to see your Tulanes be like that. Boise State in the 2000s and 2010s was once in a generation. I mean, it's comparable to Loyola Chicago when he went to the Final Four in 2018. It's a great story when it happens, but that's only going to happen once every 15 to 20 years. You get a program, a team like that goes on the kind of run that Loyola Chicago did in 2018 or Boise State did in the 2000s. So I just think that assumption can be dangerous at times because people expect more out of these G5 teams than they're going to get. And it was Boise State's victory over Oklahoma in 2006 that enabled G5 teams to be a part of the college football playoff. That mandated that your best G5 teams get an auto bid. And I think that there's some times where that can be applicable because every once in a while you get that unicorn like a Boise State or like a Cincinnati in 2021. But you don't need to have it every year because not every G5 team is going to have that impact. So there's been positive impacts from what Boise State did in paving the way for G5 teams, but there's been dangerous implications as well as far as the misperception of G5 teams go. But nonetheless, this game changed college football forever. The way people see it and the way it's structured to this day, with G5 teams having an auto bid to the CFP. It was a truly iconic game. I will always treasure it. But it changed college football forever. Let me know what y'all think about this video in the comment section below. Thank you all for watching. Have a great day.